once you go down the rabbit hole of AI, it literally takes over everything. And as somebody um who is focused on like problem solving, yeah, it lit that fire in me all over again.
A lot of people go down the same rabbit hole and they come back being like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, what is going to happen? Like, it infuses fear in people.
Starting from zero is the worst thing you can do.
Mm.
Start from yeah, start from a point of a position where you have some expertise, some knowledge in already, but then you're using artificial intelligence to supplement that expertise and that knowledge. I have to be honest and say sometimes I don't manage the mental load. Sometimes it is, it's a lot to deal with. And resetting your expectations as a mum is one of the best things you can do.
To the mom who is listening right now, who may have a business idea, but it feels like, she's just like, "Ah, I have so many things." What would your advice be for her to get it off the ground, for her to maybe use AI or any other tool just to make it, to take it to the next level?
I would say
Today's podcast guest is Danielle Turner. She is the founder of Caique Consulting, a consulting firm that specializes in AI and real estate. She also founded Property AI Tools, a directory of AI tools for real estate. And more than that, she is a wife and, of course, a busy mom. So, Danielle, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Um, so you have a background in real estate, land sourcing, property inspection, and you
yeah.
also founded your own consulting company. How do you say how do you define success, for yourself, and how has that changed as time has gone by? From how would you say you define success a few years back to how you define it now as a mom?
Well, I'd say a few years back, my definition of success was completely different. Everything was tied to monetary goals, the things that I was able to attain, the connections I was able to make. Whereas now, my success is purely defined by my lifestyle, my time, availability, how much I can give to my family, give to others. And also by how I feel on a day-to-day basis as well. I'm much more connected to um, focusing on making sure that I have a positive well-being, that I remain motivated, and I do things that fill my cup. And that may leach into my weekends and doing things that are enriching and make me feel um, like I am helping to helping to make myself feel a bit more optimistic and positive instead of just doing the work all the time. So there's a lot more balance now between lifestyle and work versus before. Then yeah, say that.
No, I was gonna say, did that shift come when you became a mom, or did it already start happening before you become a mom?
I'd say the shift started happening when I was pregnant,
Mm.
and it really really surprised me because I've always been somebody who has been so career driven, so business driven, and that's how I would spend hours and hours every single day working on building, on growing, on developing my skills, on learning. And when I got pregnant, it was like a light switch in my mind, and I was like, I now have a little human that I'm bringing into this world, and my focus just completely switched. And for that period of time, um, my priorities literally just flipped upside down. So the priority of the business versus the priority of focusing on raising this little human, making sure that I had a healthy pregnancy, and that became a priority instead. Um, so yeah, the switch was pretty surprising to me, I would say, but um, when it came, I welcomed it. I didn't try to resist it too much because it's something that I had planned for so long. Being an entrepreneur for such a long time, it's been well over 10 years since I was at university that I started my first business, and thinking of putting that on the back burner while I went through pregnancy. when I prioritized my new world that was coming, after she was born. Um, yeah, it was a huge shift and something that I welcomed, but it's not something that I necessarily expected. I thought I was going to, go straight back to work after she was born. All of these images of grandeur in my mind of, I'm going to do 100% on both ends. But yeah, you really quickly realize that you can't burn the candle at both ends. You have to,
Mm.
especially in those early days, when my daughter was just born, I had to prioritize one or the other. But of course, that meant that, my brain was constantly thinking about, business, business, business. What am I going to do next? How am I going to make it work? And how am I going to manage my time as well? So yeah, more problems arose once she came along. But it was more of a challenge, and I took it on as a challenge, instead of trying to look at, what I'd left behind. It was welcoming, a new world, new experiences, with a new little person as well. So yeah, really, really different.
I wonder if you can just dive a little bit deep into your entrepreneurship journey because you said you've been an entrepreneur for obviously 10 years. What piqued, what made you interested in entrepreneurship and like have you always been like that since you when you were younger? Did you always knew you wanted to like, be your own boss? That's the dream for most people, right? But it ends up being really hard. You come to find out how did you get into it, and how has that shifted or grown over the last 10 years?
Well, I've always been a creative, and that's just something that I have had in me, since I was growing up. And my first business whilst I was at university was a footwear brand. So
Mm.
completely different to what I'm doing now. But yeah, I designed a footwear line. I developed the product. So I was doing engineering at the time, aerospace engineering. So I used my, I guess, creative acumen, engineering acumen to develop a product. And that really came about because I went into the world of work, as a student. I did some retail, and I I really didn't enjoy it. I had some negative experiences along the way, and I thought to myself, I really just want to have control over my own time. I want to have control over whether I succeed or fail, and I want to be personally accountable for my own success as well. And that really triggered me to just dive feet first into, finding something that I was passionate about, creating and building something, and actually, doing it successfully as well. So that first business, I learned a lot, and I made a lot of mistakes, and it enabled me to figure out who I was as a person as well, very, very early on. And I'd say without that first experience, I wouldn't be where I am now. And yeah, it once you delve into the world of entrepreneurship, it lights a fire inside of you, and making progress every day, seeing your revenue grow every day. It's just it's not a feeling that you can get whilst working for somebody else. And as much as I have worked for other people along the way, I've had jobs, I've worked, entrepreneurship has always been at, the forefront of everything that I do. I've always had, a project on the side, a side hustle, and I've always made sure that my end goal is to, okay, how am I going to ensure that I can, if I'm in a job, how am I going to ensure that I can leave this job and focus on entrepreneurship full time? And yeah, that's been part of my mantra, over the past 10 years or so growing up.
Do you feel like that also intensified when you had your child? I would say like, the need to own your own time because you spoke about needing to own your own time.
Yeah.
Did that feeling intensify of like I need to have my own time? And there is that conflict of like obviously needing to make money, but also when you do have children, you're like you this is where I really want to be. So how did you navigate those two conflicts? in the early stages, but also now?
Well, when my daughter was first born, it was more of a self-reflection, and I'm an ideas person, so I'm always coming up with ideas. I'm writing them down in my notebook and thinking, okay, this is a problem. Can I solve it? So in the first 2 years, I was fortunate enough to be able to be a stay-at-home mum, and I'm really, really happy that I made that decision and I prepared for that. It's not something that many other mums can do. But I I did make sure that I was planning in my mind,
Mm.
like what are my next steps going to be? How am I going to make this happen? And what do I need to have in place so that I feel supported in making this step and going back to business after starting a family, because we all know that it's a huge undertaking, and it completely changes how you start your day. It completely changes how you approach doing absolutely everything. Um, and I'd say the thing that I struggled with the most was not having as much, as you said, not having as much control over my own time. So I went from being an entrepreneur full time to being a mum full time, and then thinking, oh my gosh, this is a whole nother job, and
Mhm.
I don't have control over my time. Again, my baby is dictating what I do when I do it. I'm having to plan everything down to the hour, every 15 minutes to make sure that her needs are catered for, that I'm, being the best mum I can be. Um, but I'm also thinking in the back of my mind, okay, how am I going to build this business whilst handling all of these things at once? Um, so yeah, it was a matter of going back to the drawing board and thinking about what can I actually manage, what do I have the capacity for, and how can I start applying myself and um, you know getting stuck into what I need mentally to prepare myself for that next step. And that's where actually I started to dive into artificial intelligence. So whilst I was on maternity leave, I had time to read, to reflect, and I went down the rabbit hole. And once you go down the rabbit hole of AI, it literally takes over everything. And as somebody um who is focused on like problem solving, it lit that fire in me all over again. And I was like, oh, I can actually, with artificial intelligence, maybe I can actually do this. Because I don't have to do everything on my own. I can have, automations help support my business. I can learn new techniques. I can apply new skills, and I can just merge it all together into, a product or a service, and use my own expertise as well to bolster that. So, um, I'd say without the AI element, it would have made those early days of being a new mum so much more difficult. But yeah, I'd say the first thing that really caught my attention was the ability to reclaim my time that artificial intelligence gave me.
That's nice. I mean, like, yeah. Did you see AI kind of become the starting point of like, I can do a consulting business and then use AI to do it? How do you pronounce it? Cake consulting?
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you kind of like merge the two? And then you said you went down a rabbit hole, but a lot of people go down the same rabbit hole and they come back being like, "Oh my God, I'm so scared. Like what is going to happen?" Like it infuses fear in people. I work in it, and even me, I'm a little bit scared. So how did you turn that, this new technology or this technology that's growing so rapidly into kind of like your superpower to help you, be the kind of mom that you want to be, as well as, be an entrepreneur that you want to be?
Well, I started off, so in my previous business, I also had a focus on like no code and low code. So I
Mm,
had a good foundation of having that technological mindset and forward thinking mindset into how technology can apply to actual solving business problem. So that was my foundation. So the good thing is I wasn't starting completely from ground zero. Um, and yeah, I took things easy. I started off with the foundations of artificial intelligence, and I went in a direction that felt comfortable for me. So learning about, when I was in property inspection, I learned about computer vision, and I went down that rabbit hole. I used the technology to create some of my own computer vision, to tailor my own computer vision models. I also I just did loads and loads of courses, back to back to back, just loads of learning, like just absorbing as much information as I possibly could and fully immersing myself in, in the theory. And then I'd say one of the most important parts after that is I actually applied what I'd learned. So I focused on building AI assistants, building automations, and applying the knowledge that I had actually learned through the theory, so that I wasn't actually just, somebody who knew a lot about the technology and knew a lot about artificial intelligence. I actually knew how to apply it as well. Um, and once I'd got that out of the way, I was still in a stage where my daughter was between 1 and 2 years old, so she was about 1.5. And by the time she got to 2, I built a new project, and it was a directory website called Property AI Tools, and I used this as a creative event to test new technologies and also share that with the world. Um, and when I started that, I didn't expect it to have any impact. I didn't expect it to become um, anything necessarily. I just used every amount of time that I had, and spare time that I had to just, just pour into it and see what would happen. Um, and that was part of me taking the step away from, working my way into starting my new career, but easing my way in a way that would enrich my mind, would help me to continue learning, but then would also prepare me to take that next step. So it wasn't maternity leave and then start Caique Consulting. It was maternity leave, lots and lots of learning and applying that expertise and then building something for fun, and then leading into a natural progression of starting into consulting, because after you've tested over 100, AI tools, people start asking questions like, oh, what's the best tool to use, or how do I use this, or can you show me, can you build for me? And that was the natural progression that led me to, into consulting, into where I am now. And yeah, so I led with focusing on tasks that I could manage my time with, and pouring into things that would help me to give my time at home and to be present at home and to be the best mum I could be, the best wife I could be, without completely, shutting off and delving into something new and different. But yeah, it was a natural progression.
No, I love that. I love the fact that it was like you kind of took your time with it. For moms listening right now who are kind of like in that idea of like, I want to start something. Maybe I should explore the idea of artificial intelligence. Everyone is, what would your advice be? Because not, some moms are at different stages. Some have kids that are
Yeah.
young, some are kids that are like, in, 7 to 10 preteen and then teen. What would your advice be to those moms, especially if they have a lot to manage already, but they are in that mindset of like, I want to manage my own time, but all, and maybe this might be a tool for me to get started.
I would say think of a subset of artificial intelligence that interests you, that piques your interest. So if you're in, human resources, start there. If you're in project management, start there. But start with an area that you already have existing expertise in, because that will help you to not start from zero. And I always say starting from zero is the worst thing you can do.
Mm,
Start from yeah, start from a point of a position where you have some expertise, some knowledge in already, but then you're using artificial intelligence to supplement that expertise and that knowledge. So what I found really helpful was starting with real estate. I would create problems. What problems do I experience whilst being a property inspector? What problems do I experience as a land sourcer, as a property manager? And I would just list those problems and think, okay, how can artificial intelligence help me? And then I would seek out solutions to those problems first. And once you've done that, once, twice, three times, you start to see yourself, oh, okay, I'm actually solving real problems. Somebody else might find this useful. And 9 times out of 10, other people are 10 steps behind that already. They don't know where to start to get to that point because they haven't taken the time to look at the problem and to look at how they can approach artificial intelligence and how they can merge their existing expertise. So yeah, I'd say start with what you already know. Think of problems that you would want to solve, and then look for solutions where artificial intelligence can help you solve those problems. Because it's almost guaranteed that if you've encountered those problems in your professional life, um, other people, other companies, other people would experience those same problems as well. And they'll also be looking for solutions where artificial intelligence can help them. And the good thing about doing it that way is you are taking a more of a concise approach
Mm.
to stepping into a new career, because that's what you have to see it as. It's a new career, although it's artificial intelligence is developing so quickly. It's never too late as a mum, whether you've got a teenager or a baby. It's not too late to actually enter into this world because it's always changing, and you can create a role for yourself, instead of expecting the market um to tell you what it needs. And you start doing that by looking at the problems first.
I would say even that I feel like because moms are so resourceful, it's kind of like
Yes.
that kind of tool that makes you even more resourceful. So when you were talking about, not starting from scratch, I don't think any mom is, truly starting from scratch because we do so much things every single day. And so just think of it kind of like an extra arm. And it is hard to like the idea of like I'm learning to code. Even me, I'm thinking maybe I should go learn to code. But but like, think it's like a new, like you said, starting slow and not becoming scared of it and not even seeing it as like it can get overwhelming, but not being scared of
Mhm.
it is very important and recognizing my mom will say it's an
Mhm.
adage because we're Nigerian, so something along the line of something that doesn't speak, doesn't have more brain than you, right? And I know that there are like tools to get our AI or robotics to speak, but at the same time, we still have to recognize that we as humans are evolving so completely, right? The human that was in the age of the internet is different from the human that is
Mhm.
in the age of this time, right? Or the human that was in the age before the internet is so much different. And so we are evolving with the technology. The technology cannot evolve faster than us. And so it's kind of like that thing for us to evolve as we
Yeah.
go. I wonder, how do you manage what a lot of women will call the mental load, right? Because you had to learn this new technology,
Mhm.
and you didn't start, but you had to kind of master it. You also were learning how to be a mom and how
Yeah.
what kind of mom you want to be, which is like a lesson that it constantly changes, constantly evolves,
Mhm.
and you also wife, it's also a thing that constantly changes, constantly evolves. How do you handle the mental load of it? And how have you grown and shifted, your priorities as time went on?
So I'd say, to be completely honest, I I do my best to do what I can instead of trying to do everything.
Mm.
And I have to be honest and say sometimes I don't manage the mental load. Sometimes it's a lot to deal with. And resetting your expectations as as a mum is one of the best things you can do. Early on, I decided that I wanted to be present, and I have, I've committed to that, from the very beginning. I want to be present. I want to be there for the first. I want to be there to be, to do all the outings and to have all of the first time mum experiences. That was really, really important to me. So to manage the mental load, sometimes you have to just succumb to the day. An example being yesterday, I had a whole day planned out with, sales calls and prospecting. And then I had to go and pick up my daughter from nursery because she had a fever. And it's a matter of, okay, I had all of this that I needed to do, but this is also my daughter's also my priority. And I want to be able to put her first. And building this business has, enabled me to do that. And I want to be able to continue doing that as well. So yeah, managing the mental load, I don't always succeed at it. But I try not to put too much pressure on myself to do all of the things and be all of the things at once. I just take one step at a time. So instead of telling myself, okay, I need to get 10 things done today and beating myself up about not achieving all of those things or not completing all of those tasks, it's okay, I have, one or two focuses for the week. And if I can, achieve those successfully, if I can complete those successfully, I'm satisfied with that, you know, with that achievement. So yeah, I'd say taking a step back, and just resetting my expectations, so that the mental load doesn't, become too much all the time, is really important to, managing my home life and my work life and, being a present mum as well.
I wonder because I struggle with this a lot, and it is that kind of like, oh my gosh, you have to choose. It's not like you have to choose one, but you have to be comfortable with your choices, right? Because the desire to be a present mom is so great for me too. And but then I'm also such a, I want to say performer. Like I
Yeah.
want to perform, and I want to be the best. Like it's been ingrained in me, I have to be the best. And so it's hard to kind of that there's a tension between the two where you're like,
Yeah.
I need to, I want to be the present mom. That it kind of, how do you deal with that tension of like, and it's more, I guess, an internal work versus like outwardly where you're like, I could get so much more done, but I
Yeah.
don't. How do you deal with that?
So that was one of the, I'd say, the biggest challenges I had being a new mum. I was always used to being efficient and, getting everything done that I wanted to do. That when I became a mum and, plans changed at last minute, or
Mm.
I wasn't able to complete a task, even if it was something at home, like I would start doing the dishes and my
You
daughter
start
would need me or
crying.
she'd be wearing a tap or crying. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't been able to complete this." And so by the end of the day, I would look back and be like, "I started all of these things. I haven't
Yeah.
finished anything." And yeah, that I'd say that is one of the most challenging things to overcome because it's really, really difficult. And I just had to start adjusting my expectations of myself,
Mm.
and not thinking, okay, if I don't do all of these things, it's going to make me less successful or less of a person, or it's not going to make me as good of a mum if I can't, keep up with everything all of the time. It's, as long as my daughter's happy and she is well taken care of, as long as I can do, one thing a day to make progress with my business, then that's what's most important. And although, pre-parenthood, your measure of success, maybe, how much you can do and how much money you can make and, all of those things. When once you become a parent, you do have to, adjust those expectations of yourself. And it may take you what took you, 3 weeks before may take you 3 months now. And that's one thing that I've also adjusted. I've given myself more grace and more time to reach the milestones that I've set for myself. And as well as, doing things in a completely different way than I did before. But
Um, I guess also going that same line because it was like when I started this podcast, I started almost a year ago, like interviewing
yeah,
people and then going, and I was like, I'm gonna try to do it every single week. And I got to the point last year where I was doing the podcast. Things had shifted at work. I had like I had 3 kids, not like 3 kids. I had three
yeah,
kids, and I was like, I something has to give, and I was like, okay, I need a break. And that
yeah,
even up to now, that break was heart wrenching because I had made a promise to myself. I was like, I'm gonna keep going, but I was like, I'm not. It's going to either I'm gonna quit because I'm not giving myself the break, or I'm gonna take a break and come back what better than before. Have you ever had that moment where you're like, yes, it's like not the best, choice, but it's the best for the kind of person that you want to be, or for the kind of mom that you want to be?
yeah. Definitely. I can definitely resonate with that as well because taking a break makes you feel really guilty at the time,
Mhm.
but you know that you need it. You need the mental break, and it was, yeah, in December. I So my whole family, we came down with the super flu that's going around, and it
Mm.
just completely wiped you out. And I had a pipeline of, sales calls and prospects and people wanting to work with me in December. And it was just sickness after sickness. It was like going back and forth between me and my daughter. And I got to the point where I was just like, my body's just telling me I need to stop.
Mm.
I just need to take a minute to stop and to just recover, because it wasn't just psychological, it was physical as well. And when it starts to impact you physically, you just completely slow down, and you it just doesn't make you feel good at all. And that's how I felt. And so, yeah, in December, I just decided to completely just pause everything. I didn't do any work. I just maintained, and I didn't take on any new work. I just focused on getting myself better, getting my daughter better, and having the mental break I needed. And I felt really guilty because so many others around me were just like, "Oh, you've got to do the last final few weeks sprint to just, make the end of the year." And I'm just like, I just can't do it. I just couldn't do
Mhm.
it. Mhm. I was so exhausted and, mentally fatigued, and I just didn't feel like I was giving my best at all. And but yeah, I just completely took a time out and just took the break that I needed to just recoup and recover. But yeah, I did feel really guilty. I felt really guilty.
Yeah, I would say that the guilt, especially when you are like, again, I keep going back to that idea of like there is that conflicting point, or that conflicting, between the
Yeah,
kind of mom that you want to be and the kind of person that not person, but the kind of performer, or career that you want to
yeah,
have. But and like you mentioned, there does have to be that shift. And that's part of the reason I started this podcast, because I love the
yeah,
idea of like you're not choosing between the two, but there is that idea of like you are prioritizing at times. And so whoever's listening and you feel like you need a break, please take the break. you
yeah.
know,
Please
like,
do.
yes, please take the break, because like, you can work, 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 but then like if you get sick, like you know, only
Yeah,
the people who are healthy can enjoy the fruits of their labor, or
right.
only the people who have a great, like, the foundation that people have at the bottom with their kids. And I'm someone that's like working on this, trying to have a good foundation with my children,
Yeah,
is important for the future, right? It's important for the relationship that you're going to have with them in the future. And so, like you said, success is not necessarily money. It's literally the people that you have around you, and all that. But so I
yeah,
wanted to ask, speaking of people that you have around you, who would you say is in your success circle? How important has it been to find a community of, like-minded women who has the same like go-getter attitude as you do, but also is like, my priority are my children,
yeah.
is my husband.
So I have a really amazing network around me. Not just obviously my family, my husband, my sister, my mum, and they are my at home foundation. They always, support me and encourage me, and I wouldn't be able to, go down this entrepreneurial path if I didn't have that village. But from a business and work standpoint, I have a mastermind group of women that are also either mothers, entrepreneurs, and I meet up with them every week or every other week, and we just talk about what challenges we're facing. We give each other advice on how we can support each other, or we just hash through problems that we're experiencing in our business. And I also have a hobby, a CEO hiking group as well. And
Nice.
so I have the I guess the mastermind is for like mental clarity and female support and empowerment and helping to drive each other forward. The CEO hiking group that I'm a part of is also a bit of business, but it's more so for like keeping physically fit and actually getting outside and getting fresh air and making sure that, you're not, sitting behind a computer all day. So yeah, I have an excellent network of, strong, successful women around me. I have a great network of other entrepreneurs that I speak to regularly and that help to, support me and drive me forward. And I do the same for them. So yeah, I'd say it's really important to have a strong network around you, but it's not something that I've always had. I had to go out and seek that and build relationships with people and actually ask people, oh, do you know what? Like, how about we call every week and see if we can help support each other. Um, because you realize that parenthood, motherhood, and entrepreneurship is can all be very lonely and without having other people that you can speak to, that you can, vent to, that you can, talk through, talk about things that you're going through with, it becomes really difficult. But you quickly realize that you're not the only one that is experiencing what you're experiencing. If you're tired, you're not the only one. If you've gone through sleepless nights, you're not the only one. And being able to have other women and other business people that you can relate to, that's been really important to me. And I'd say has contributed to my success so far.
No, I definitely think community is important. And I feel like more so this year, I'm a woman of faith. So God has been really bringing that like community to me in a really
Yeah.
good way. So we're about to round up, but I wanted to ask you if to the mom who is listening right now, who may have a business idea, but it feels like, she's just like, "Ah, I have so many things. What would your advice be for her to get it off the ground, for her to maybe use AI or any other tool just to make it, to take it to the next level?
I would say just start to begin
Mm.
with. Um, if if you have an idea, just start and put one foot in front of the other every single day and figure out what AI you can use. So whether it's part of your, lead generation strategy, whether it's part of your social media strategy, or something else, use artificial intelligence to help you brainstorm, to help you work through, those thoughts of, okay, I want to get from A to B, but I don't know how to do it. Use artificial intelligence to help you get there. And once you've started, you can start, building up your network, your support network of other people around you that can help you, to push and drive you forward, because that's also really important. If you don't have that, yeah, definitely use artificial intelligence to like work through your thought process, your brainstorming, your reasoning, so that you can actually make a start. The most important thing is just to start and to, you won't be able to have all of the answers, but you'll be able to figure it out as you go along. And I'd say that's the most important part of actually starting your journey in entrepreneurship whilst also being a mum. Every problem, every challenge that you face, um, will have to be addressed differently. but you also have to just give yourself some grace as well, and so you can figure it out as you go along.
Yeah, I will just add to that and say like, um AI is like a lot of things. So like Danielle did, I would say just use a different types of tools and you land at the ones that you like or you find the one that works for you. And something that's simple, I think I've done it to like make a budget because I didn't want to like have to think through it or like make a schedule. So I want to go through a quick lightning round. So just three questions. What is your number one favorite tool or app for staying organized?
I actually have a custom AI assistant called Founder Boss, and it's built on ChatGPT. And
Nice.
I connected it. Yeah, I've connected it to everything, Asana, my to-do list, everything, and that helped me to stay really, really organized and focused on my daily tasks.
When you have 15 minutes of unexpected free time, what do you do to recharge?
I try and do absolutely nothing.
Right?
I'm like, yeah, I try and do nothing. Just let my mind rest and have a minute to just breathe and exhale.
Okay, so what is one goal for your consulting business in 2026 that you're most excited about?
Um, I'd say there are a few companies that I really want to work with. And I want to double my growth in
Mm.
2026. But I know that I can't do that on my own. So also growing my team as well.
Danielle, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and just I know you're very, very busy. So thank you for coming on the Busy Moms Get It Done podcast. How can people reach out if they want to connect, if they have any other questions, if they want help with what can they reach out to you?
So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Danielle Turner on LinkedIn. Um, and I'd say LinkedIn is probably the best. Or you can email me, danielle@caique.co.uk.
Thank you so much again. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen. And we will talk to you next time on Busy Moms Get It Done.